G'day, YouTubers. Glad to see you here with us live, checking out our live stream today of our webinar where we are helping you with your business. Unlock the 7-step scale fast formula for your business is what we're doing right now. We're live, we're watching you, you're watching us, and you are able to get access to the material that we are sharing today. So we look forward to you joining us, being on board, and using the chat within YouTube along the way today so that we can help you to get some great content to help you grow your business. We're still a few minutes away from starting the program, so we like to get into the live YouTube a little bit earlier. I'm Gary Ryan, your host from the 10X Business Coach Program Down Under, also co-facilitator of the 10X Scale Fast program with Alison Wheeler. It's a delight to have you with you. I'm just setting up on my phone as we speak with YouTube so that we can check in with you throughout the session here today and make sure that we're not missing out on any of the interaction that you're sending to us as we go and share with you right now this live webinar. So again, it's a pleasure to have you with us, and we're excited to get started in just a few more minutes time. We're going to be walking through the exact 7-step system that has enabled Alison Wheeler and my clients to achieve unbelievable success in their businesses, record months. And in Alison's case, she has had a business that has grown by over 1.4 million Australian dollars in just 90 days, folks. In just 90 days, that has been achieved. And Alison was able to do that with her client. And we're going to share some of the exact strategies that her client used in that 90-day period. I mean, we're talking 90 days, and this is extra revenue, folks. It's not brand new revenue from start. It's actually increased revenue on top of what they were already earning, and they did that in just 90 days. So we're going to share that information with you straight away for you today. So we're just letting you know that we're going to start that in just a few minutes time. And once again, it's great to have you joining us and with us. And in a few minutes time, we'll get started with our webinar where we're going to go through the 10X sales system. We're going to teach you everything that you're going to need to know to be able to enable you to create the success that you want to create for your business. And today, Alison Wheeler had some surgery just a few days ago, and as a result of that, Alison will not be joining us today. She's not well enough, as it turns out. As you can imagine, a couple of hours of surgery, that would do it to most people. So just letting you know that Alison is going to be not with us today, and I'm going to just press record and get people to start coming into the room. Hi, and welcome, folks. This is Gary Ryan from the 10X Business Coach Program Down Under series. We're still a couple of minutes away from starting today's webinar where we're going to help you with understanding what we're doing for our 10X Scale Fast system. And we're going to help you understand the 7 steps that you can apply to your business to help you grow your business. Welcome once again to everyone that's already joining us on YouTube. We like to go live on YouTube when we do these sessions. We're still a minute away from our official start. So once again, thanks a lot for coming along and joining us. And as we say in 10X World, early is on time. So I see you, Kerry. Thank you for joining us and getting in on time. I can see that there's some folk online. Unfortunately, with your handles, I can't name you because that's the reality with most people's handles on YouTube. But thank you for joining us. And as I said, we will be getting started in just a moment's time. Just again, for folk that did not hear just before, Alison had surgery just a couple of days ago and unfortunately is not well enough to join us today. So I will be leading the way with you. So a couple of important things for you to be aware of as we get prepared to get started for our webinar, which is right on time now. While the strategies, techniques, and information shared during this webinar are based on experience and research and practical experience, it is important to understand that individual results may vary. Of course, there are no guaranteed results. The success stories, which we will be sharing with you today, and I will be sharing the detail of Alison's clients that did raise their revenue by over 1.4 million Australian dollars in just 90 days, in addition to their previous revenue that they'd had over a 90-day period. So that's a real case study, but those case studies are examples of what can be achieved, but do not guarantee that you will achieve similar results. In terms of your effort and commitment, your results depend on a variety of factors, including your dedication, commitment, and ability to implement the strategies shared of the 10x sales system that we will be walking through with you today. There are, of course, external factors, market conditions, competition, and economic factors beyond our control that can also impact your results. There is, of course, personal accountability. You are responsible for your own success and should exercise due diligence and judgment when applying the knowledge and techniques that I'm going to show you today. Of course, from a professional advice perspective, the content in this webinar is not a substitute for professional advice. Please consult with a qualified professional for any legal, financial, or business decisions. This disclaimer is clear, and by participating in this webinar, you acknowledge that you have read and understood this disclaimer and agree to apply the information provided at your own risk. So we are here to unlock the 7-step formula for your business. That's what we're here to do today. So let's get into it straight away. This is being recorded, and those of you that are members of our system already will get access to the recording. Any of you on YouTube, which I'm just having a little check for right now, yes, those of you there, if you want to get access to it, there will be an offer that I'll be sharing very, very soon, and you will have the opportunity to consider that as we go through. One of the things to consider is that, discipline precedes motivation. We always have people register for these webinars, and in the chat, Y for yes, N for no. Do you think they all turn up? Y for N, yes for no. You can pop it in the comments on YouTube if you like. Okay, that's right. That's exactly right. It's a no. Of course, they don't turn up. Right. And just in addition to that, of course, in the chat are some rules for us, and thanks, Kerry, there. Just in terms of, please display your first name, keep your cameras on. Only people with their name will display it, and camera will be permitted to ask questions, except for VIPs, which are members of our current clients and or system. Then you are already a VIP and are already getting access to the recording of this session. Please feel free to raise your virtual hand. We're actually quite happy for you to do that throughout the session. If you've got a question, please be respectful in the chat. Use it to communicate with us. There is no self-promotion allowed. You will be exited from the webinar if you choose to do that. There are no AI note takers, and the session is being recorded by myself throughout this session. And I'll just make sure that we have got that up and running. Yep, we do. Okay, so discipline precedes motivation. So showing up is an act of discipline. So as a result of registering, you've already got the Motivation Mastery 21 Proven Ways to Energize Business Success ebook. You're also going to get, for showing up, our Sales Mastery, also a bestseller from Alison and myself, Expert Strategies for Business Growth. So a couple of takeaways there for you. You're going to learn the techniques that are used by our coach, Grant Cardone, that we teach to our clients to achieve massive growth. Alison and I were the first 2 people outside of North America selected by Grant and his team to be able to teach his material on his behalf and teach his clients and work with his clients from both Australia, New Zealand, and in fact around the world. We have clients from the USA, Canada, across Europe, and of course across the ditch in New Zealand and in other parts of the world, including the Middle East, like places like the United Arab Emirates. So we are doing these work. It is proven methods. Grant's proved them by himself. He has traveled a personal journey where he went from being in poverty as a 10-year-old after his father had passed away at the age of 10. His own employees in his own business are earning over $1 million per year. And I want to highlight one of his employees called Vera, who is not a salesperson. And she started, when she joined Grant, she had left teaching in the US in a primary school, as we would call it here in Australia and New Zealand, job, earning about $40,000, 22 years old, single mum. Now, 5 years into her job at Cardone Enterprises, Vera has actually now, Veronica Vera has now earned 228,000 US dollars last year, and she's not in a sales role. Everyone in the company has an opportunity to grow their revenue and income by achieving their KPIs, which every single person actually understands how their role contributes to the success of the organization, and every single employee has the opportunity to earn more money. It's something that we strongly advocate. It's missing a lot in a lot of companies here in Australia and New Zealand, where the increased profitability. In fact, most business owners in our countries are not sharing the data about their business and its performance, which means it's a black box. And folks, the problem with black boxes is people make up their own sense of what's in that black box. And the sense they make for most business owners is whether it doesn't matter whether you're not making any money or not. If you've got employees and they don't actually understand the finances of your business, they will think that you are going home at night, wrapping yourself in a doona that's filled with $100 notes. That's what they think is going on for you, right? And they think that you're making that money off of their backs to your benefit and not to theirs. And, you know, we really advocate transparency in your business to help overcome that, so people actually understand. You know what? There's a lot of, we know statistically in Australia, I'm not sure of the New Zealand data, but we know statistically in Australia that 46% of business owners are earning less than the average Australian employee of $66,000. 44%, nearly half of our business owners are hardly making any money at all. So these techniques have been used by over 375,000 training sessions and completed by business owners in the world. And it is possible with anyone with a desire to succeed and the willingness to 100% commit to their business to be able to succeed. And we're going to show you how to do that. All right. The thing is, with all of that data, it's actually not your fault. As you can see with the ABS report from the Australian Bureau of Statistics report from June 2024, company operating gross profits have fallen by 2.5%. Wages and salaries have gone up, a 0.6% fall in the 13 industry aggregate. You know, it all means that businesses are struggling. And it's not your fault if you own a business and you're struggling too, because you didn't know that was actually a marketing and sales system that actually works. You didn't know that because you would have been using it already if you did. You thought that you had to perfect everything before going to market. And as you're going to see with what we're going to teach you, you don't have to perfect everything before going to market. You listen to your family and friends who said you were crazy for running your own business and going down that path. And you didn't know that people need to see you at least 30 times, either in person or online, before they'll even consider exploring what you have to offer, folks. At least 30 times, right? So if you look around, things are tough. What was that number in the chat, folks? What was that number? Let's see. We've got on YouTube here. That's right. Well done. I can't pronounce that word that you've got as your handle, but exactly, it's 30, folks. So well done. It's 30 people. That 30 times that you need to be seen. And we'll do that throughout today. Think about the 3 whys for your business. Why should someone do business with you over a competitor? There's virtually no one in the world that doesn't have someone that's competing in your marketplace. So why should they do business with you over a competitor? Why should they pay more to do business with you? With many of our clients, we discover that they are significantly undercharging their clients. They're not actually charging what many of their clients would actually pay because they've never tested it. So why should they, in fact, pay more to do it? If you're not clear on these answers, that means you're not sold enough on your own business. And why should someone go into debt to do business with you? Are you sold enough on the value that you provide that from an integrity point of view and an ethical point of view, you have no problem with someone going into debt because you know that if they do, they're going to get the benefits? Are you sold so much on your product that you would be okay with that? Now, the reason why you want to learn this system and apply it now is that you don't want to be left behind. It is time to make it happen. There is never such thing as the right time. It's like if any of you are parents, there's never a right time to become a parent. It's the right time's now, okay? Now, you don't want to be a statistic because 20% of businesses in Australia fail at year 1. Then we have In year two, we've just got our little system going quiet on us here at the moment. 60% fail in year three, sorry. Then we've got 95% of businesses are gone. There's the pattern across most Western countries, by the way, are gone by year 10. And they're not gone because it was a deliberate exit strategy. I don't know, we've got an exit strategist on our call. It's not because of that reason. It's because they actually went out of business, folks, right? And were record insolvencies across Australia and similar patterns in New Zealand in 2024. But we understand that there's no reason for you to believe Alison and I. Like, why should you believe us? And in fact, we encourage you to be skeptical about what we do. But no, Alison, who again, unfortunately, is recovering from surgery, who's not with us here live today. But Alison is, in fact, the #1 business coach in the world. She's the only coach in the world to ever have had audited reports on her success with her clients, with both Scott Frank and Layla Grubasic, where they generated over 1.1 million US dollars. That's why it's 1.4 Australian dollars, million Australian dollars, in just 90 days. And towards the end of today's webinar, I'm going to share with you some exact strategies that both Scott and Layla used to generate that, in addition to the coaching from Alison. Myself, we've had Jason Sutton and Nurel Lyon with their legal practice up in New South Wales at Inverell, in regional New South Wales, creating record months when they started working in the program. And they've been able to grow their business, grow their employees, and have some great opportunities coming their way just 6 months into their program. You've also got Bradley Garner here and Charles Stuber that you can see their feedback for Alison and myself, increasing revenue, being satisfied with the coaching, understanding that it's helping them shift their thinking. You've also got Joachim Soderberg Matheson from Denmark, and also Jacene Greenwood, Rococo Botanicals, unbelievable success story. Jacene's actually just released a book too about her story. Was just over in the USA collecting some awards for her skincare products. She's known as the fairy godmother of skin. If you know anyone that's got any skin challenges, definitely go and check out Rococo Botanicals. You'll discover that her solutions were actually around Jacene solving her own acne skin problems, and a very, very healthy way to do that. So the whole reason why we're here today is about the 10x sales system, this 7-step system that we know works and is helping those businesses you've just seen create success, and they can do the same for you. So the first step is that you have to have your idea and target. Now, what we talk about there is so many businesses start from the perspective of replacing their previous income, whatever it is. If you're a small business owner, and I said to you, you know, what's your business target? Like, what's your revenue target? Most people will say a number that is maybe a little bit better than what they may have earned as an employee. And that's a major problem, right? That's not enough. The amount of work that's required to go in to create a successful business is so much more than being an employee for someone. People who have been employees and then start their own business, and if their business is becoming successful, that's when they start to realize how much work is actually required to create a successful business. It's far more than it ever was when you were an employee. And I want to be really clear about that. If you're thinking about going into business because you want to have an easier life to start with, I'm sorry, you're kidding yourself. It's not the reality, right? The reality of business is that you've got to do the hard work. You've got to really roll your sleeves up. So therefore, the goal has to be worth it. You need to have a goal that's so big it's going to actually change your life. Now, that goal may not be achieved, and very rarely is achieved in the first year. So what you need to do is you need to have a crazy goal that you just go, I don't even know how I'm going to do that. Perfect. You need to take that, and what we do with the idea and target section is we then teach you how to use real numbers from the past, including if you've only ever been an employee, and or if you're in business, how to use the real numbers from your business to actually set some targets that are in the context of that big goal, but also and equally based in some reality to give you a stretch target for this year that you can utilize. And we have some tools and techniques that we help you to do that. Now, with this first step, idea and target, it's also about every time you do a new You might launch a new service, or you might have a new product. Set a target for it. What is the number of sales that you want to have? What's the target of people that you want to have register and attend something? Like, set your target and work backwards from that. What's the work you're going to need to do? So the step one of the 10x sales system is anything that you're doing is what's the target. Now, if you have an employee or employees, have they got clear targets that they need to be achieving? So this is how Veronica Vera, who isn't in sales, she has clear targets that relate to her community engagement job, her role. She's got clear targets about how much engagement she's supposed to achieve, because they know if she does that, two things happen. A, that helps the sales team make sales, and two, it helps people to get and buy again and get that renewal happening, and second and third and fourth sales, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Feel free to drop any questions or comments in the chat as we go. And again, I'll keep monitoring. Yes. So question on via YouTube is, do you need to have a target for every new activity? The answer is yes. This is what I did. The first step says for every new activity, set your target, right? Set it, get disciplined with doing that. And that's going to help you with having clear focus and then working backwards from what is it that we have to do. The second thing you have to do is got to get attention. One of the things we teach is a phrase, and we encourage you to write this down, folks. We want you to write this down. Money follows attention. Money follows attention, right? So if you want to be successful in business, if you want to achieve that big goal, if you want to hit your annual target, which we also break down into 90 days, monthly, weekly, and daily. Like, how many of you right now have even got a daily target? I'm actually looking at my wall right now where I've got my targets all listed from a financial perspective. I can see my daily target right now, which includes working for me 5.5 days per week. So I've got to get half of that target today, right? And I know that as to where I'm at with that. So that's the power of that. And you've got to go and get attention, folks. So attention is all of your marketing activities. Now, where you can get a lot of attention from is what we call is your power base. Your power base is everyone you already know in your life. That's people that you went to primary school with. And if you've moved around, some people go, I've had a tough life. I've moved around lots of different schools. Awesome. That means you've got a massive power base. There's a lot of people out there that you can potentially lean on to actually know about your business. Anyone you've ever networked with, anyone that you've ever worked with, any clients you've already had in the past, are part of your power base. And too many people are not getting enough attention from their power base. Now, what would be one fear, folks, that people have about reaching out to their power base, which includes, of course, your family? What would be one fear that people have when you reach out to your power base, right? Yes, that's right. That what they would have is the fear of being criticized, right? You're going to have family saying, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be doing this. Of course, that's going to happen. Now, what we talk about with when you're getting attention is you need to understand two things. Once you're getting enough attention, you will get haters. Now, haters are people by definition that you don't actually know that are, in inverted commas, hating on you. It's sad that those people are doing that. We feel sorry for them. But on one level, you should celebrate that you're getting haters, because it means you're getting enough attention. The second type, which is actually far more dangerous than haters, folks, and that second type are naysayers. Now, naysayers are people that you actually know and often care about and may even love, but they're negative about what you're doing with your business. Okay. They may be even negative about you being in business. A lot of folk that we work with, to be brutally honest, one of the biggest naysayers is someone extremely close to them. And who's that, folks? Who's the person that's nearly the closest, or probably the closest out of anyone in the whole wide world to them, who actually gives them grief about their business? You're working too much. You're doing this too much. You're not around enough. Right, exactly. Their partner, right? So we do a lot of work to help you, to help your partner get on the same page with you from an attention point of view. So getting attention is, again, everything that you're doing to be able to let people know about what you're doing. Now, a lot of people ask about paid advertising, right? Now, paid advertising is something that you should be doing at a point in time in your business. But before you do paid advertising, folks, before you do paid advertising, what you should be doing is you should be getting organic interaction with your posts that you're doing on social media first. So before you go doing that form of paid advertising, now, obviously there's leaflets and things like that that are a form of paid advertising. Publishing books and giving books out is a form of paid advertising. Now, definitely encourage both of them. But when it comes to social media, people think, I'll just go and start doing some Facebook ads and then all this business is going to come. What we know is that if you just start doing that, you might as well just go and find out where Mark Zuckerberg lives and go send him some money. Just get his account details and just send the money straight to him, because you're not going to get any benefit. And the reason is this: you haven't actually tested what actually is hitting the marketplace organically. If you're getting no traction organically, that's probably telling you something. It might be telling you, A, you haven't built a big enough audience. B, that audience maybe aren't the people that might buy from you. And C, that the messages that you're putting in your posts aren't hitting the mark yet. Right. And I say the word yet importantly, because nobody just goes straight to this part of the curve. Everyone, including the most successful people you know, have had to go through the flat part of the curve. And we know this about exponential curves. And if you've got a mortgage, right, if you've got a mortgage, it works in the opposite direction. And many people will be able to relate to their mortgage in this context. And the way an exponential curve works is that you never, ever, 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 ever get to the curve part of an exponential curve without going through the flat bit first, folks. You have to go through the flat bit to get to the exponential part of the curve. So it's exactly the same with your organic posting, right? So just keep that in mind. Then once you start getting some traction, that's going to tell you, oh, this is the sort of stuff I need to be doing that gets organically some attention. Great, awesome. Now let's use that to go and do our paid advertising from an attention point of view. So we want to give you that tip right from the start, okay, folks? So the tip there is get organic traction first. Use that as your test case before you start paying for the paid advertising. Our promise today is that we're going to deliver real value, give you real tips, give you real information. Some of the information we're going to give you is not going to be what you're expecting, and it's not, maybe you don't even agree with it. That's absolutely fine. We're deliberately telling you what we know works from, again, this material being tested in 67 countries around the world, and Grant Cardone and the 10X community having used this themselves to go from a multi-millionaire to a multi-billionaire in his own right. So you need to get your attention to capture leads. So then the question, folks, is, well, what's a lead? What's a lead? Anyone want to suggest what a lead might be? How do you know that you've got, in fact, a lead? Because leads are essential for businesses to be successful. A lead has to be achieved. Your activities, your marketing activities is, in fact, to capture a lead. That's okay. Yes, someone you can communicate with. You're on the right path there. It's someone we can communicate directly with. There's that definition. It needs to be direct, right? Now, so someone might make a like or a comment on a social media post, and you can message them directly, say they're a lead, okay? Now, ideally, we want to work with those leads to get them into our system where we can be working with them, knowing their name, their first name, surname, their real name, not their handles, like we're seeing on YouTube a lot at the moment. We want real names of people so that we get their name, their first name, surname, email address, phone number, and of course, any other social media that we can utilize to directly communicate them. That's what a lead is, folks. Now, once we've got that lead, we then know, any guesses, in fact, before I share it, any guesses as we move into step 4 of the 10X sales system, which is lead management. Remember that number we said earlier about the number of times that you need to be seen to even get communicated with was 30, how many times on average do we need to communicate with our leads so that they will actually engage and buy from us? Any guesses? There's a magic range, folks, of the number of times we need to be communicating with our leads and nurturing the leads to be able to get them. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. Oh, Kerry's thrown in a great number there, 11. Love that because it does fit in the range. Okay. All right. Now, what most people are going to find surprising is the range is 5 to 12 on average. 5 to 12 times we have a deliberate, conscious follow-up nurturing sequence with people, ideally using multiple channels. So we're not just using the same channel. Now, when I say channel, an email reminder is a channel. A text message reminder is a channel. This Zoom today is a channel. The YouTube is a channel. The chat's a channel. The comments on YouTube are a channel. The recording that this is going to produce and going into the vault for the members is a channel. It's also a channel for the recording that may or may not end up on YouTube. If we decide to do that, that's another channel again. So think of all the different channels and ways that you've got to communicate with people. And of course, a very, very powerful channel is this beautiful thing, the thing called the phone. We can actually ring people if we've got those details and actually speak with them, which is by far the most powerful thing you can do from a follow-up perspective. So folks, what we know is that 2% of sales occur in the first contact. Someone sees you and they buy. Now, some of you would be like that. You'd be the sort of person, you do your research. When you're shopping, you go to the first place, providing they've got what you want, you get it, you're gone, you go home. You know, you're 2% of people. At the second contact, 3% of sales occurs. So we've still got 97% of sales to go yet, right, folks? There's still 97% of sales to go. Now, between the third and the fourth is where 17% of sales occur. But between that 5th and 12 is where 80% or close to 80% of sales occur, folks. Most of us are not doing anywhere near enough nurturing, and we haven't built a system that uses multiple channels to be able to communicate with our clients and prospects to get them to engage with us. Now, who'd like to know a really powerful secret about the first contact, the first follow-up contacts, especially if someone's hitting your website? Who would like to know a really powerful secret that if you can do this, it will significantly increase your conversion rates? In fact, the magic number that I'm about to share is 500% increase in conversion rates if you have the capability to do this. And what it is when someone hits your website, if within the first 5 minutes you can directly communicate with that person, you will increase their conversion by 500%. Now, if you think about your experience as a customer, how many times have you hit a website and you've never heard anything back? Like you actually even filled in a form and you never heard anything back, right? You actually sent them, they've said, please contact us. And you went on the contact form and you put in the data and you never heard anything back. And those businesses, maybe some of them are you listening to this right now or watching this right now, those businesses complain that they don't have enough customers. And yet there's customers looking for them and they're not prepared to be able to find a way to be able to get their information, track that information, and get back to them within 5 minutes. Right? This is a very, very powerful lesson. So far we've done idea, target, attention, leads, got to capture them, be able to have that communication with our leads to be able to get them to sales, to get them to the 5th step of the 10x sales system is in fact sales. So this is where we understand the buyer. Now in sales, what we teach is a 5-step sales system, of which closing is the 4th step. Now closing is technically when the exchange of value occurs. So the 4-step in the 5-step sales component of the 7-step wheel. So it is step 5, and step 5 does have 5 steps. The 4th step of the 5 steps is in fact where the close happens, which is where we actually exchange value. Now, what does that mean in real terms, folks? In a business sense, what does that value really mean has actually happened? Because it doesn't mean someone saying, I will buy from you. Someone saying, I will buy from you is not a close. It's an intention to close, but it's actually not a close. Anyone got any thoughts on what actually has to happen for that to occur? Yes, money. Money has to exchange. Exactly. They've got to give you money, right? So it's amazing how many business owners we first work with that are quite poor at closing because they think when someone says, I'll do business with you, that that's actually the close. It's not the close. The close is when we've actually had that exchange of value. Now, if it's a business to business scenario, that's when you've got the commitment of the purchase order because you've got a legal contract now. And or if you've got a contract, now a contract is a big part of the close, but it's still not technically the close unless you've got some money down. When the money comes in, and they've paid that deposit, that first payment of whatever that contract and the terms might be, that's when you've got the close, right? Now, many, many times you've got the verbal close, the physical close doesn't happen. What's the thing you got to go back to, folks? What do you got to go and do? Who can guess? What do you have to go and do in that scenario? Someone's told you, yeah, I'm going to do business with you. I'm going to send you off that, I'm going to electronic funds transfer you the money tonight. Tonight comes and goes and it doesn't happen. What's the thing you have to do, folks? Well, you got to contact them. Yeah. And now some of you would get really uncomfortable with that idea. Oh, now I've got to actually talk to them about the money that they haven't paid that they said they were going to do. Yes, that's exactly what you got to do. Right? You've got to be prepared to have that conversation. Say, bring them up, say, hey, reason why I'm calling, you said you were going to pay that. And I just noticed overnight the money hasn't dropped in. Is there something that I'm not aware of? Right? Now, I'm going to share with you one of the most powerful questions you can ever use if you've got a problem with payment. Who'd like to know it? It's one of the most powerful questions you can ever use when you're in step 5 of the 10x sales system. Okay, we've got a couple of yeses in YouTube. Thank you. All right. So what you can do is you can ask this question. What concerns you the most about doing business with me right now? What concerns you the most about doing business with me right now? Now, that will surface whatever complaint or objection that they've got that you need to handle. And here's a second tip I'm going to give about objections. Some of you would have heard the concept of objections before. Now, objections can actually pop up at any stage of the 10x sales system, but they will really tend to surface in the close, in the sale itself. And what you've got to be able to do with all of your objections is first treat them like complaints. So one of the major, what do you think people seem to or even say out loud? What's the objection, the main objection that you would face in business, do you think? What's it around? It starts with the letter P. It's got 5 letters, ends in the letter E. What do you think that might be, folks? Who can guess that 5-letter word that starts with P, ends in E? Yes. Price. Exactly. Right. So it's price or the cost. It's going to be something like that. Now, are you prepared to say, yes, I understand this is expensive? Of course it's expensive. It's really expensive if you don't use it. Certainly in my case with my coaching, it's expensive if you don't use it. If you do use it, it's cheap. I'm both expensive and cheap, depending on whether you're going to use it or not, right? And how confident are you to be able to answer that in step 5 of the 10x sales system, which again is the closing, folks. Once we've gone through this wheel, we're going to share again what Scott and Layla actually will walk our way back around the wheel, and I'll share with you what they actually did from Allison's sharing with me. Now, managing the money. Managing the money is reinvesting into your business. So managing the money is spending money with a coach, joining a coaching program, spending the money on getting your customer relationship management system, your CRM, which helps manage this whole 10x sales system. Managing the money is investing in staff, is investing in getting people to help you with your marketing and all of the various elements of your business. Managing the money is where, again, you're spending money to recruit for staff and be selling for staff to come into your business. So managing the money is everything that you're doing to help get your business ready so you can do the seventh step in the 10x sales system. And the seventh step, folks, is scale. To be able to do scaling, which is where you really grow your business, and in some instances, that would mean multiple locations, could be physical locations or multiple global locations in terms of a global presence. What scale means is that your systems and processes are documented to the point at which two things can happen. Firstly, anyone doing a role can be duplicated, especially yourself as the business owner. And second, that because those roles can be duplicated, those duplications themselves and the standard operating procedures themselves are designed in such a way that when they should be improved, they can and are improved immediately, so that you're not stuck with some standard operating procedure, some policy that actually doesn't work anymore. Inbuilt in scale is the capability for your standard operating procedures to be updated as they need to along the way. And again, you've got that duplication. A quick little tip on those of you that are individuals, like sole traders, solopreneurs, that know that you do need to bring other people into your business one way or another. A quick tip is think of the 18 tasks that you have to do every single day to generate revenue for your business. What are the top 18 tasks? Think of what they are. Then what you do is you get the bottom. What you do is once you've generated that list, you identify what are the top 6 that you enjoy doing that make the biggest difference to your revenue. Note those 6 down. So get your list of 18. Out of the 18, get your list of 6 that you actually enjoy doing. Then go back through the remaining 12 and work out, well, what are the 6 that I really, really, really dislike doing? Some of you might even use that 4-letter word that starts with H called hate doing, but you sort of have to do them, right? So identify those 6. Then what you do with those 6 is that becomes the job of the first person who's going to duplicate you. Now, maybe that's a virtual person. Maybe that is someone physical, a family member, a teenager or something like that can get some of those tasks done for you. But that's the simplest and fastest way to start to do step number 7 in the business. Now, in terms of full-time employees, getting a full-time Australian or New Zealand-based employee, we recommend that it's not until you're turning over at least $200,000 that you consider doing that. If you try to do that beforehand, you're going to be paying them more than you most likely. Okay. So yes, you can get virtual assistants that are a lot cheaper and those sorts of things, but that is a number that we recommend that you keep in mind when you're looking to scale your business. And that framework of $200,000 to $250,000 per full-time employee is a great framework to manage your growth over time. Of course, there would be variances for different types of industries, depending on what the overheads might be, but that's a great way to consider that. So there you have it, folks. We have the 7-step system that is being used in 67 countries, helping businesses all over the world. Again, just on a call again this morning where businesses were sharing how they're implementing this system and growing their revenue, seeing things from a completely different perspective, identifying the gaps. And that's one of the things that you want to be looking at with your business is, okay, where are my gaps? Because as I mentioned, these are like a series of dominoes. And ideally, we want to make sure that all the dominoes are hitting each other. Now, we've got them in a linear line there, but imagine that the dominoes are in fact in a circle. We want all of those dominoes from idea all the way to scale, and then scale to come back to the domino of idea and target to actually hit each other. Now, where we see the lessons from Allison and Scott, is that they got super clear on their target of the $1 million. Like they were obsessed about hitting that target. Now they actually exceeded that by over 10% because they in fact got 1.14 million US dollars extra revenue than they'd ever done in a 90-day period before. And they broke it down into what needed to be done daily. Like I said earlier about having your daily targets. And for those clients of ours, we teach them 6 daily metrics that they should be monitoring every single day to help them stay on track with their 90-day target. They doubled down on their marketing, both external and internal. So, well, what does internal mean? They actually got their staff to understand what they were trying to do. They got their staff to be able to see how the staff were going to benefit. And they only had a small team of 5 staff, right? So it wasn't like they had a huge staff numbers. They had 5 people. And they helped them understand the importance of them contributing, even just from a social media perspective, but also from their own power bases, which they'd never leveraged. They'd never consciously leveraged the power base of the staff within the business. Because not only do you have a power base as a business owner, but your staff do too. How many of your staff could have opportunities within their power base for people to come and do clients with you? Now, one of the challenges, and I would argue it's a stupid mindset that we have in both Australia and New Zealand, is we have this idea of you shouldn't mix business with family. The most successful families in the business of in the world have absolutely mixed business with family because that's how they got to be successful. It's a crazy mindset that we've been taught for some. I don't even know where it came from. Don't mix family and business. Of course you should. Everyone's got a power base, folks. Of course you should be encouraging your staff members to be leveraging the business across their power base. And so that's what they did. And they got business out of it, right? They got business out of doing that. They really work hard on their outbound calls, which was something that they hadn't really done. They got very disciplined with their scripts. Now, it's really interesting that I found from, coaching people in Australia and New Zealand specifically here, is that we're very anti-scripts. We don't like the idea of scripts. I want to be me and I know it really well. Okay, show me the data of how well that's been working for you. Truth is, it hasn't been going so well in most cases. The reason why scripts work is because they're designed to have a formula. Now, most people that I know, not everyone, but most people I know either have a passion for a sporting team of some sort. Some sporting teams might even have red and white colours, a bit like our red and white, and some might have red, white, and black, like our red, white, and black for our 10x SCALEFAST system. Personally, I actually like the Australian colours of red, white, and blue for me. Some of you who know me would understand where I'm coming from there. Other people, right, love theatre. Now, it turns out that I am very passionate in sport. My first degree was as a secondary physical education teacher, and I've been passionate about sport my entire life. Sort of happens when you grow up in a typical Australian family of 11 children. Maybe that bit's not so typical, but very, very sporting focused. And so I had a very, very strong passion for sport. Now, my third child is a performing artist, and if any of you are going to go and happen to be in Melbourne at the moment, and this show is not going to just stay in Melbourne. I can't tell you where it's going next, but it isn't going to just stay in Melbourne. But if any of you want to go and watch Beetlejuice, my son is in the cast for Beetlejuice. Now, I can tell you, at elite sport and at the elite performing artist level, guess what they have? They have these things called structures. In fact, in Beetlejuice, they even have these things called scripts, obviously, right? Scripts give you structure. In elite sport, they have structures. Even in a dynamic game, like not everyone, especially on YouTube, would necessarily know about Australian rules football. If you go and watch a video, you'll think there's no rules to this game. But there are rules and there's a lot of structures. Structure helps create the outcome you're after. And that's exactly what scripts are. So Scott and Layla realized that in their business, they hadn't been using scripts anywhere near to the level that they could have been. They doubled down on that, doubled down on making sure that the staff followed the scripts, right? They made sure that the staff were following the scripts and shortened the sales cycle as a result. For step 4, okay, on lead management, they did their 5 to 12 follow-ups. They actually realized we weren't doing that very well, if at all. They were missing. And the evidence is overwhelming that they were missing huge amounts of follow-up opportunities because they weren't doing them in a deliberate, structured format. They doubled down on that, got that right, boom, they get results, they get sales. Now, that bit we'll move on from. So for step 5, what they did was they made a major mindset shift. And that was to treat every buyer like a millionaire. That's going to make many of you go, but not everyone qualifies. Get it, understand, I'm with you. But what they did was said, you know what? We're going to treat every buyer like they're a millionaire. Because what they were doing, and they discovered they were doing, as a result of shifting this mindset, they discovered this, and then acting on this mindset, was that because they were not treating everyone like a millionaire, in other words, not treating everyone like they could afford their service, because they were doing dental work, right? They were lowering prices for false objections. And they were offering lower level services because they were making the decision this person can't afford it. When they shifted that mindset to, we're going to treat everyone like they can afford it, they found that people could actually find the money and afford it, which increased their revenue. Like, there we go. Boom, right? So treat everyone like a $1 million buyer. And Grant Cardone's a big advocate for that. And it's something which is the opposite to what most of us are taught. We're taught with the way that we qualify people, the tire kickers, the old car sales, used car sales people. So, oh, don't waste your time on tire kickers, right? Yes, of course, there's tire kickers, but this is where we talk about quantity of customer gives you the quality customers you want. That's maybe you don't want to hear that, folks. The more quantity you have, the more quality you will find and the more characteristics of that quality that you will find, and you'll be able to go and seek more and more and more of that quality because you'll be able to identify it and know it and understand it. But at first, you got to be treating every buyer like they can afford it. So it's going to depend where you're at in the life cycle of your business and how well you know your clients that do buy from you and do spend for you. But if you've got a revenue problem, the probability is that right now you need to be getting more quantity of people finding out about you. You need to be engaging with those people, treating them all like millionaires and finding out which diamonds actually exist among them. What are the patterns with that? And then how can you focus in and drill down and really leverage those patterns to get more sales from that type of people? That was a big lesson in step number 5. They invested into their business. And what was interesting was, in reinvesting the business and realizing that they didn't have enough staff, this is Scott and Layla, they didn't actually achieve this in the 90 days. They actually had to get more dentists. And so they went recruiting, but they didn't actually start the new dentists in the 90 days. They missed the 90 days because of what they discovered was from step 7 is they actually didn't have pre-existing recruitment systems and strategies and processes that were strong enough to be able to very quickly activate. Now, again, we love giving tips. We teach RITA, R-I-T-A. And what RITA stands for is, yes, it's a beautiful name. RITA is a beautiful name, right? But what RITA stands for is recruiting is the answer. Recruiting is the answer. And folks, what that means is even if you don't have current jobs available, if your business needs new revenue, you're going to need great people, whether it's now or at some point in the future. But if you have this attitude that I'm always recruiting for great people into my business, and you've taught your staff, if you've got staff, that same principle, then recruiting is the answer, means that you have the opportunity to be constantly looking for people. And ideally, you've set up a system that if you do find someone, you can very quickly implement your system to go through that more formal process. Now, that at times might mean that, particularly when you hit a certain size, generally speaking, when you're around the $2 to $3 million mark, that if you find the right person for your business, you might be you have that capability that you can actually hire someone who's the right person for your business if you've got the right onboarding process to be able to have them up to speed really fast and generating income for your business. Now, this is something that Scott and Layla learned that they didn't have. But of course, the benefits of everything they did in that 90 days and that increase in revenue that they got in 90 days, do you think all those benefits just last for 90 days, folks? Like, of course they don't. These benefits last, continuing last forever as they continue to make them better for themselves. And finally, with step 7, it really is about that ongoing benefit that they got from implementing the 10x sales system in such a really clear, focused way for those 90 days. So, what we encourage you to do is to think about how you might apply this for your business going forward. Now, at the start of today, we said that we were going to share an offer with you, and we've spent the time here today explaining how the 10x sales system works. And this is why businesses fail, but we're going to come back to here. Okay. Yep, we've got all of that. Now, which I'm going to share this offer with you in just a second, but the biggest gap that businesses have is the gap between the idea and target and getting attention. Most of you, if not all of you on this call, are not getting anywhere near enough attention for your business. I'm never satisfied with how much attention I'm getting from my businesses. It's just not enough. We need to be getting more. The moment, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort and it's a lot of trial and it's a lot of working out what works before you go to the market for advertising and all those sorts of things. But that's what that massive action gap is, right? We need to be taking massive action to close this gap between your idea and your targets and getting attention. Because while gaps can exist all the way around the wheel, we just know now through this being applied in so many businesses across so many countries, especially for small businesses, this is the biggest gap. And again, when I say small business, I mean 20 employees or less. This is the biggest gap that everyone's facing. So if there's a takeaway today, for example, the number of business owners that I work with that don't even have a personal presence on any social media platform that's actually public, or they're just not using it at all, is extraordinary, folks. Like, we've now moved into a world where it is individual personal branding that is the differentiator. It's individual personal branding. If you do not believe me, think about the people that you know. I mean, is Richard Branson more famous than Virgin? Yeah, right. Is Elon Musk more famous than Tesla? Is Donald Trump more famous than the USA government or the USA itself right now? And I'd probably say yes, he is, right? Like him or love him, hate him, Oprah. That's the brand, her name, Oprah. Even think of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was the brand. She created her own brand, helping all those people in poverty in India, right? We are in a world of personal branding. And if it's one thing for business owners to get their heads around is you're missing a great opportunity if you're not associating your personal brand with your business. That's the world we're in now. You need to be getting attention for your personal brand in your business, folks, to close this massive action gap, right? Because if you're not doing that, then you're really risking letting so much business go. So why is it that businesses are failing right now? Why is it that you think businesses might be failing right now? Well, for starters, you're not setting targets high enough, as we said at the start. There's a severe underestimation of the time, resources, effort, and investment required to achieve your targets. Like, even if you do have targets, 99% of business owners are underestimating the work required. And that goes back to that concept I said earlier about people that are starting a business because they think they want an easier life than what they had when they were an employee. That motivation is going to get burned up real quick, folks, if you haven't set the right targets and actually don't understand that's not true. You're going to have arguments with your partners because your partner's going to be surprised at now how much you're working. You've got to go into this. We've been really clear. You need to have your eyes wide open if you're going to go into business, that you're possibly and probably going to work the hardest you've ever worked in your life. But you know what? If what you're doing really makes a difference to other people and the success you're helping other people create, it's 100% worth it. Like when one of my clients this week got their very, very first sale, it was $300, right? Their very, very first ever sale. And then they managed uh, within hours to get their second sale of nearly $2,000. So they got, nearly $2,300 worth of sales. It's like, I'm really in business. Like they finally convinced themselves that they're really, I had goosebumps. I love that. It's such a beautiful thing to happen for people. Another why businesses fail is they're spending too much competing and not dominating their sector. They're worrying too much about the competition. You absolutely need to know what your competition are, who they are, what they're doing. But if you have so much attention that only people think of you, they become irrelevant. Now, of course, that's not going to happen straight away, but imagine if that was one of your targets. My target is my competition are going to be irrelevant to me and my customers because I'm getting so much attention. And of course, adversity. Now, what this one means is that you're going to have adversity hit you in your life. Things happen to people that you love and care about. You might have a situation where you get unwell and you've got to go to hospital and you've got to have some surgery and, then you've got to recover from that. And all of those sorts of things are going to come when you're in business. But when we don't understand that that's part of the business world and we get overwhelmed by them because we're surprised by the adversity rather than understanding adversity is just normal. You had that when you're an employee or previously in previous lives and whatever you were doing with your career. Like adversity is just something that happens. But when we let it overwhelm us and stop us from creating our business, that's when we cause our businesses to fail. Right. As we said earlier, money follows attention. And you can see the URL down the bottom, folks, at businessgrowthdownunder.com/10x dash down under dash scale fast dash program. That's where Alison and I have our offer. We've got our weekly scale fast program, which is every Tuesday evening, which is 48 sessions over every 12-month period is what we promise. We've been going already for 15 months now. There's over $57,600 worth of value just in that program. They're 45 to 50-minute sessions where we educate, we practice. It's an exclusive WhatsApp group as well. Now, with that Tuesday, that weekly Scale Fast session, every session's been recorded. We add new resources. All of the members of that program also get VIP access to today's webinar, and they also get it uploaded to the Scale Fast Vault. We do a weekly dive on 10x math, 10x mindset, marketing, sales, and follow-up. We go into really big detail with our members, and there's over 57 hours and growing of value in that vault as well. Normally, right now, that's at $497 per month. It's only $197 per month. SIYD is a stupid if you don't and a smart if you do offer. It's a smart if you do offer, folks, for $197 per month. Now, this is only available for 24 hours, and then it goes back to the normal retail price of $497 per month. So, folks, I'll pop that information into the chat and also into the YouTube comments for you to go and check that out. Now, I'm going to give you two links, and there's a reason for why I'm going to give you two links. The first one is to the landing page, but just to prove that the whole world doesn't always work as perfectly as you would like. Our team member, who normally updates these things, is also ill in the Philippines. And so the backup plan is the second link if anyone wants to do it. So I'm going to do this both in YouTube as well. So I'll send both of those links. So you'll see on that first link, folks, if you go there, it still says 497 just to prove that that's real. Do not click on that, please. Click on the second form instead if that's of interest to you, because we would like to be able to help you with your business and the success that you're wanting and wishing to create. And I'll just go and pop that into the live chat in YouTube as well, so that we've got those of you there can get that information as well. So look, and the thing is, right, Alison and I are really passionate about Australia and New Zealand businesses, folks. Like in 2020, small businesses, which again is 20%, 20 employees or less, made up 48% of our gross domestic product. Now, back in the 1970s, it was over 76% of our gross domestic product came from small businesses. We have been on a major, major slide because this last year in 2024, I don't have any 2025 figures yet, but in 2024, that figure had dropped to just 33%. There's been a massive exodus of small businesses, folks, and most of them have not been sold, right? The people have just stopped the business. I've got a really close friend recently who's gone through this process himself, unfortunately. And like that means that we've become a big employer country and a government employer and big employer. Now that's all fine, except for when the global economy does have a recession, which arguably you could say we're in one now or we're not. But when that happens and the big employers start sacking people because they're global companies and they will do that, and when the governments don't have enough tax to pay for all their stuff and they have to shrink, where are those people going to work if there aren't small businesses? So Alison and I are super, super passionate about actually turning that trend around and helping businesses be successful here. Now, we've got a goal to work with 100,000 businesses across New Zealand and Australia. Now, that might sound crazy, and maybe it is crazy, but we've got a massive goal to do that. So if any of you on this call today know people that are in small business that would benefit from our offer, please feel free to share it, because I hope you've seen that we're genuine. I know Alison's not here today, but she's an incredible human being. We absolutely give a crap. We're here on a Saturday afternoon because we care. We want to share genuine information, and we want to have you to have the opportunity to be successful in your business. All right. So what we're just going to do is, again, there's Alison and I. If you join us and you have folk that need this, that do join us, they're going to lose their lack of clarity about their business. They're going to lose inconsistent revenue because they're going to be able to generate more consistent revenue. They're going to lose the lack of an effective end-to-end sales process. They're going to lose the missed growth opportunities that Layla and Scott discovered that they had, and they're going to lose fear about feeling like this isn't working all of the time. Now, I know we've gone slightly over time, but if any of you have any questions, feel free to either pop them in the chat, raise your hand, or on YouTube. Sorry, folks. One of the benefits of being live in the room is that you do get to ask your questions live. I'm not going to take them from YouTube, just to let you know, YouTubers. In fact, YouTubers, I'm going to say thank you for coming along, and we're going to say goodbye for you now. And we look forward to